Let me check my platforms. Hello, hello. Let's see who's coming in the room. And as y'all see it pop up, you can actually share it. Like I see it right now on our Woman Heal Thy Soul live right now. Hello. Thanks for joining. I see we have one person that joined. We're going to give people a moment to join in and we'll get started in a moment. All right, y'all coming in the room. Hello, hello. Give everyone one more minute and we'll get started. All right. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. And this is recorded, so um, people will be joining as we're going, and they'll get to see the replay. So let's just go ahead and get started. First, I would like to thank you all for joining our Facebook Live discussion talking about what is a healthy soul. Our host to help us guide us through this dialogue would be our MC and host of the Woman Heal Thy Soul Conference, Missy B. Missy B is a multi-talented motivator and advocate, best known for her digital lifestyle brand, Missy B on the Move. After working in the radio space for over 10 years in the broadcast industry, she sets her sights on advancing her professional career in the education sector. Her desire to support youth and families was always a part of her journey. She's a former media instructor, case manager, and program director. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Missy.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this dynamic discussion. This is just like a sneak peek into what you can expect if you attend the conference. You need to attend the conference, so make sure you go ahead and get that ticket if you don't have it purchased already. You are in for a treat because you're going to hear from the speakers today. Like Shamika said, we're talking about what is a healthy soul, and we're actually going to lead with that. This is all about being healthy and whole, mind, body, and spirit. So let's just kind of dig right in. What is a healthy soul? This is something that I would like each speaker to speak to, and we'll start with Crystal.
Hello, everyone. So, a healthy soul is one that is honest, practices forgiveness, addresses their traumas, taking accountability for their actions, their mental health, has a strong awareness, and has built a foundation on God. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and I want to give each one of our speakers an opportunity to just quickly introduce themselves. So when I call on you, give us a quick, bio background. So Crystal, please give us a little bit about you.
Sure. Crystal Kelly. I reside in Connecticut. I am a licensed professional counselor. I own a private practice called Grace Valley Clinical Services. I'm also a minister. I am extremely passionate about pairing the mental health part in the spiritual part together to help people find and develop a stronger awareness of who they are, what their purpose is. I am extremely passionate about helping people just evolve and grow and find their purpose and just be the best versions of themselves. Thank you.
Kiosha.
Hi, I am Keosha Edwards, human service student, parent, friend, minister, um, a woman aiming and walking into what God has called me to do. Um, and in that, I'm going to answer this question of a healthy soul. For that, for me, is going back to one of the things that Crystal said as well. Starts with forgiveness.
Mhm.
We have to be able to not only forgive others, but even ourselves when we fall short of things. Having that healthy soul, being able to maintain a balance between life itself, having an open mind, being positioned to be able to say, even when things are negative or positive, the aspect that we take from that. So just being a open-minded, period, on the things that we're confronted with, not just based on what we think our opinion is, but how we look at this as a whole picture. To be able to do that, we're speaking to our heart and how our heart can show up at that time.
That's good.
Candace.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dr. Candace P. Parker, and I reside in Columbus, Ohio. Wife, mother, and a grandma. I'm passionate about helping Christian women, but women in general and their families break unhealthy cycles so they can change the world around them. And the world does not have to be this big world. It's your environment, whether it's in your home, your community, your church, or the workplace, or whatever area you go. That's my job to help strategize and push women and families to break through to the other side to receive everything that God has for them. And to answer the question, what is a healthy soul? When I look at this and look at my journey as of today, is peace. Peace, having
Mhm.
peace in mind, resting and relying on my God, which is Jesus Christ. So I don't know who's watching, but my higher power. But also having the ability, when I look at a healthy soul, balanced emotions,
Mhm.
learning how to navigate or having the ability to respond to life transitions, whether the successes or the challenges that come, and being able to make a rational, healthy, and not responding out of the negative emotions. So being for me, being consistent and being healthy, being consistent and walking in peace. If it doesn't have peace, then I need to reevaluate what's going on around me, what's going on in my thought life, what's going on in my environment that's preventing me to walk in peace. And that's my definition.
Y'all helping people. This is all good stuff. Shamika.
Hello, I am Shamika Jones. If you're watching me from 360 Health Transformations, I am the founder and owner of 360 Health Transformations, where I serve as one of the health and transformational coaches. I am also the president of the Woman Heal Thy Soul Conference, and I am so delighted to be able to be a vessel in bringing forth women heal thy soul, and along with these women that we're that's on this stage. To answer the question, I'm going to respond to it in a manner of what a healthy soul would look like in a person. And a healthy soul in a person would be that person would be self aware, as Crystal mentioned, emotionally balanced, meaning they can handle stress and triggers that may arise. They know how to navigate negative emotions because the truth of the matter is we can be healthy and still experience negative emotions. So that healthy
Mhm.
soul would be able to navigate those negative emotions well. It's also someone who may have faced life challenges that they're shown resilience. That healthy soul is resilient, and in spite of their challenges and obstacles and trauma and trials that they may have experienced in their life, they are overcomers and they are resilient, and they're not allowing that trauma, those past experiences that they had, stumble and stagnate them in their life. They're moving forward and past. They're not looking behind them and in their past, but they're looking forward into their future. That person with a healthy soul would also, as several of my sisters have stated, will be in tune with God. They would have an alignment with God. We can't literally live our life in purpose without having the direction and guidance from the creator, the one who created us. It's impossible. He gave us the purpose. So how could we not have him guiding us and navigating our life, helping us navigate our lives without living in purpose? So that is what I would define as a healthy soul.
Janelle.
So, hello everyone. I am Dr. Janelle Jones. I am a TEDx speaker, a licensed clinical therapist, and a life coach. I help women who work a 9 to 5 monetize their passion, skills, and expertise by creating a thriving coaching business or consulting business because I believe there's something you have and you're able to take it and make money from it. So, for me, I kind of did some research. So, I got notes. So I'm looking at my notes. I just looking at what a soul is. And we're taught that a soul is our mind, our will, and our emotions, right? And of those, when we're looking at the minds, we're talking about our thoughts. Like Crystal, my sister said, Crystal, but Candace and Shamika said is we're looking at our thoughts and our will and our emotion. In those thoughts, this is where you have to have the healthy soul because our thoughts produce our words produce our actions produces our habits, and our habits produce our character, and our character, of course, produces our destiny. So when we do not have a healthy soul, and all of us been through some stuff, the key is to heal from those things, as my sisters mentioned. When we don't have the healthy soul, we don't have the healthy thoughts, we don't have the healthy words, we don't have the healthy action, we don't have the healthy character, and therefore we do not have the healthy destiny. So in order for you to have a healthy soul and to reach your destiny, you got some work to do. And we start with healing, well, God, and then healing.
That's right.
Sharita.
Hello, my name is Sharita Riley, and I am residing in Phoenix, Arizona. And I am a licensed associate counselor working in a mental health field. And my passion is working with individuals who need to heal their inner child so they do not carry their trauma, their hurt into their lives, so they can be their full selves and reach their full potential. And when I think of a healthy soul, I want to use is emotional resilience, kind of like what Shamika was saying. A healthy soul can navigate life's ups and downs, particularly like being able to experience and respond to stressful or unexpected events and crises that's thrown at us every day. Being able to experience and process emotions is what's going to get us through life, but also being able to display love, joy, hope, and compassion, not only to other people, but the passion has to start with yourself. So that's what I think a healthy soul is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so making the transition now that we've talked about what is a healthy soul, and I think we've touched on signs and symptoms with a lot of the answers that we receive, but I do kind of just want to go back around. If you want to give one symptom and one sign or whatever it is you want to share based on that, what are the signs and symptoms of an unhealthy soul? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Kiosha.
Lack of purpose is one of the signs of unhealthy soul. Unforgiveness, right? If we can't forgive even ourselves, like I said before, and others, there's unhealthiness there. Those are signs that we need to get rid of those things so that we can move forward. And not only that, with the lack of purpose, we're stuck right there in that unforgiveness. So we need to come up out of that, acknowledge it, feel it, but deal with it so that we can move forward.
And what are your thoughts, Crystal?
Yes, I have a list, but I'll just mention two that really stand out to me. Unresolved trauma. It's so important that we address the things that come up for us from our past and that play out in our day-to-day life, and also just having healthy relationships. If we find that our relationships are unhealthy, that is an area that we have to explore, because the reality is God did not create us to be lone soldiers or warriors in this fight. We should be doing this together. Thank you.
And Janelle, what do you think?
I kind of want to piggyback is kind of the unresolved issues that bring us like this low vibration. If we're in a space where we're not constantly working on ourselves and doing the things we need to do improve ourselves, that's a sign of an unhealthy soul. Of victimization is a clear sign of an unhealthy soul. So if you're a person who's been through everything, which everybody who watching and on the screen can raise their hand to say they've been through something, but it's how you process and view what you've been through, like the lady said, that counts for unhealthy soul. So if you're in a situation and you're always the victim, that is a clear sign of having an unhealthy soul.
And Shamika, what would you like to contribute?
Yes, my sentiments are with all of the responses, but I would also like to add someone with an unhealthy soul may exhibit low self-esteem. Sometimes they may have a disconnect with reality. And what I mean by that is they may see things through this distorted view. So their perceptions are not the true reality, but they're seeing things through their pain, through their past trauma and their experiences. So that would have that disconnect with reality. They'll have false belief systems going in alignment with that disconnect in their reality, where they believe certain things, but that's not really, the truth of the matter. They may struggle with self-control. Like every time they're triggered, they're going off. It's like a bomb, right? So that might be a symptom as well.
And what about
I would
you,
also
Shamika?
like to add one thing. Some of the behaviors outside of those that maybe show up from unhealthy soul may be substance abuse, alcoholism, and even overeating. So many people are overweight and don't realize it. I was one of them. I was an emotional eater, didn't realize it until I went through my self-awareness process and began to be mindful of me wanting to eat certain things because I was feeling a certain way. So that may be a sign that you might have an unhealthy soul.
Thank you for that addition, because I think we all are starting to see ourselves maybe in some of these signs and symptoms, and that is the whole point. We're trying to get you to be healed. Sharita.
Yeah, I'm going to start with reluctant to admit your weaknesses and your flaws. If you're reluctant and you're avoiding that, there's no way that you're ready to move forward and be real with yourself. Another, as I talked about, emotional resiliency is lack of control of your emotions. You're easily irritable, annoyed, you get upset, or it's certain triggers that will get you out of character.
And Candace.
Yes, everyone said everything I had down, but let me just reiterate or someone may not discuss. One sign may be that you're constantly busy and distracted. You're using going here, doing this. I know as women, we tend to overcompensate and become enablers because we have that gift of being a helpmeet to help other people, to the point where we forget about self, right? We forget about establishing boundaries. So you need boundaries when it comes to being busy and distracted, knowing what is God saying for our life versus are we trying to overcompensate because of trauma in our lives or to feel loved or people pleasing, right? And so to balance that, so you have to be in a position where you're bringing everything into alignment, into a balance. And as women, we can get busy and distracted with life, with motherhood, being a wife, being ministers, being entrepreneurs, that we forget about us, taking time for us to sit with us and examine self to make sure we are in a healthy state to pour out. Because I know for me, I'm in a position now where I don't want to pour out unnecessarily. Because when I do pour out, I want to be in a position to pour out everything I have for who God has called me to be. And that is where God is wanting some of the women to be in position. When I send you somewhere, you need to pour out 100%, not 50% because you're overtired, because we stretch ourselves so thin. So
That's
a
good.
balance in removing that busyness and distracting spirit.
Very, very good. And so, signs and symptoms, we've talked about that. Let's transition into steps that we can take. So, this question is for Crystal, Janelle, and Sharita. For someone who may feel their soul is unhealthy or in distress, what steps would you recommend for healing and recovery?
Okay, can you guys hear me? So some steps is, I think it's important to do a deep reflection on where you are and where you desire to be. I think that once you've done that, reaching out to a professional, seeking a therapist. I also think it's important to seek spiritual guidance as well from a pastor or spiritual leader to help identify where you are now, the condition of your heart, and where you desire to be, and help you develop the tools and the pathway to getting to that place that you desire to get to.
I will recommend someone to follow a healing process as well. So first, I think it's essential to identify what is going on. You know, you need to realize why your soul is unhealthy. Is it because of the past trauma? Did Uncle Remus molest you? You know, did, your mom abandon you? Do you have mama trauma? Did your father leave you? Do you even know who your father is? I think you have to start there. A lot of times we're triggered and we don't even realize that we're being triggered. We're just reacting. We're spitting out. We're flipping out. We're doing all this stuff and not even realizing it. So the first thing is, when you notice that you just act in a way, you're not for sure where the root comes from, you need to identify that. And you start with the root of where that came from. Did your mama call you ugly? Did your mama call you stupid? Like, what really happened to the root of that problem to get you from there? Once you understand the origin of where that came from, then you have to move on to the healing process. You have to remember that your traumas and your wounds may not be your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. So although these things happen to you, you have to really learn to walk through them and move forward. Because what happens is, if we don't heal from those things, we create generational curses and generational cycles, right? Some of us been through, we're living our mamas and daddy's traumas. And all we're doing is passing on things, on to the next thing. So you almost owe it to yourself, like Kelly said, to go see someone, to get some professional help. And I know that, we're therapists and we're saying that because, we see it all the time, but it's essential because there's some things that your therapists see that you may not see. There's some things that we're here to give you coping skills and methods and go through all this training to help you process that thing. But you have to first identify that, like AA said, that one, you have a problem.
That's good.
And Sharita.
All right. Yes. I want to first off by like making a note because I feel like people who are looking to start the healing process or feel that they have issues that they want to work on, that they stop themselves because they feel there's a particular order or there's like a right way and a wrong way. So I want to make a note that there's no right way. There's no wrong way. You know, your journey is your journey. Each person's journey is going to be different. So whatever aligns with your path, that's what you need to follow. But there are important steps that you should take. And, you know, just to kind of back off Janelle and Crystal, like one of those things is being self-aware. You have to kind of acknowledge that there are things that you do need to work on. And by being self-aware, you're open to change and you're open to reflection as you go through that journey. And then that's going to also bring you to self-acceptance, right? You need to embrace all of your emotions. You got to embrace it without judgment. You have to be mindful and be present while fully accepting the uncomfortableness. I think everyone is uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. So sometimes you have to learn how to be comfortable with the uncomfortableness because that's going to get you where you need to be. And during the healing process, there's going to be some uncomfortable moments. And then also have self-compassion. Self-compassion is important because it's going to carry you throughout that journey. And it's going to remind you that you've been through the battle. You've already been through that battle already. So as you're going through that, just be kind and understanding of what you've been through and what you're going through. And then lastly, I'm going to say seeking guidance. Mental health therapist, your religious or a spiritual mentor or a life coach, and they can take you and give you the tools that you need.
So many golden nuggets. So if you want to just give the virtual snaps, if you want to, you know, do whatever it is that you need to do, we all feeling it together. I really love the steps. But we all know that once you start on that journey, here comes the barriers and the challenges. So what are some barriers or some challenges that may impact someone having a healthy soul? And then how can they overcome the challenge? And this question is for Shamika, Candace, and Kiosha.
All right. There are numerous obstacles that can stand in the way of a person achieving a healthy soul. And there's no single solution to these challenges either. To cultivate a healthy soul, there's a combination of strategies that are necessary, including developing self-awareness. That's why one of the breakout sessions in the conference, the foundation of us starting that journey, we need to become self-aware. That's been trending in our conversation. Self-awareness have constantly come up because we cannot move forward, heal, or do anything otherwise until we're self-aware. We realize some things about ourselves and where we are at this very moment. We also have to manage stress through various techniques like seeking counsel. I've heard that trend as well, seeking a counselor or a therapist when needed. That is very crucial. I know in the Black community that hasn't been the popular thing to do, and especially religious folks. I'm a minister, so I can say that. But it's true. Sometimes we think that we have our relationship with Jesus and that's all we need. I love this session that my sister did, Jesus and therapy. We need Jesus and we need therapy. So that's something that we definitely should seek. If we're not able to manage stress and our triggers on our own, we can go see a therapist to help us with that, give us the tools to navigate those different challenges that we might have. And additionally, it's important to have a tribe. And one of the things that the 360 Health Transformation, the Woman Heal Thy Soul group that we've established is to start that tribe. Before the conference even start, we want to start that tribe through this 360 Health. I keep saying 360 Health because that's my business, but no, the Woman Heal Thy Soul group. Get it right, Shamika. But y'all could go visit 36 Health as well. But that group was established to begin to start that community of women that's going on a journey with you and start to build those support groups that support group that you can have, and have people that have, may have similar experiences. There's going to be people all over the world. This is not just a Columbus thing. I foresee this being a global thing. I decree and declare that in the earth. This is going to be a global thing, and you may be connecting with someone all the way across the globe. So join the 360, the Woman Heal Thy Soul group, the Woman Heal Thy Soul group, and get into that community.
And I would just like to reiterate what all the ladies have said about the self awareness and self acceptance. However, I want to really dig deep, because when you're on the healing journey, you have to be willing to deal with the unhealthy and toxic relationships that kept you stuck, that kept you in the trauma, that kept you. So on this healing journey, you must be willing to reevaluate your circle. Or is your relationship taking you forward to your dreams and your desires, what you have passion for, or is it keeping you stuck and reminding you of all the negative wordplay or the trauma that's been going on? Okay, so that is one big one that you have to do on this healing journey. And I think Shamika or some of the ladies said it, a therapist, right? Counselor, biblical counseling, but also community, having to support people that you can be vulnerable with. You can't be vulnerable with everyone when you're going through and you're changing. You have to be vulnerable with people that's like-minded, or that has something that you need to grow into. Right? That's another level of maturity, when you can look at somebody and say, hey, I want to get there. They have something that I have, and I need to connect with them. Okay, so on this healing journey, be mindful of your circle, especially getting rid of unhealthy and toxic relationship, finding a tribe that's like-minded. Like Shamika said, joining the Women Heal Thy Soul group to connect with people that's like-minded and want to heal, that wants more of peace, want more of God, want more of purpose, that want more. And so I would just encourage you, connect with the Women Heal Thy Soul group, and start your healing journey.
Going back to what they said, they already covered, right? Those unresolved childhood trauma, all that stuff that's unresolved, getting into that place of acknowledging, taking ownership, rewriting that story.
I like that.
And as we rewrite that story, we have to continue to keep that right here. Dismiss the old story. Decline. Access denied, literally, because I'm trying to get here with my new mindset. So I need to continue to speak my new story, not that old stuff. Nope, it wasn't my fault. None of it. But I get to rewrite my story. Yeah. So just getting in that awareness will allow you to be able to do that. Because what happens is, if you continue to bury and build walls, you can't rewrite the story. So you got to open up, and it's okay to acknowledge that it's there, that it happened, and now rewrite that story and deny those other thoughts.
Amen.
I do want to quickly just take a moment and thank everyone for joining this live stream. You are hearing from some of the speakers of the Woman Heal Thy Soul conference that is coming up in a couple of months. And if you don't know, these ladies are powerhouses. They are ministers, they are doctors, they are therapists. They are subject matter experts when it comes to healing and being on that journey. And so I do want to talk about personal experience, because I do think it's important when we are on that journey that we hear from others. And a lot of times, you know, their testimony or what they've been through could potentially resonate with us and give us the courage and the strength to feel like we can be on that journey too. So I'm going to ask each one of the speakers if you could keep your answer to around 2 minutes, but to just share a personal experience when you felt your soul was unhealthy and what may have caused this. And we'll start with Shamika.
All right. Well, it's funny because initially I thought it started from my encounter with shame. And that was when I had my son as a teenager. And really, it was shunned that I was a track star, and, you know, my family had this future in mind for me, and me having a child, unmarried, and, you know, was not, you know, a part of the plan. And so there was a lot of shame, and there was even some words spoken over me by someone that was very close to me and vital in my growth, that let me know that said that by me having that, my son, that I wasn't going to be anything. But that wasn't where it started. That was my thought for so many years. But what I discovered in another layer of self-awareness, because, you know, it's an evolving thing. So you'll get into a place of healthy soul, but you'll constantly be learning things about yourself, you know? And so what I ended up finding out is I'm the eldest of 8, actually, siblings. But I grew up in a house where it was 6 of us, and my dad got married and had other kids. And there was trauma in me being the eldest, taking on so many. And that's where it started. It started where I was kind of pushed aside and taken on this role at a very young age to be responsible for my siblings. And in doing that, I neglected myself, and I became this person that just was doing for people and putting myself on the back burner. And I found myself doing that for mostly all my life. For probably about I'm 47 years old, but the bulk of my life, that was what I did, and didn't realize that that was part of something that broke in me, and an idea that came over me through me having to take on responsibility at a young age. And so how I've now began to overcome that is I've started making boundaries. I started putting myself first. I'm not the first one to raise my hand no more, because that was the thing that I used to do. Every time it was a volunteer needed, I was the one raising my hand, even though I was doing this, that, and that, you know. And so that is something that I would say when we get in a conference, y'all get more. Come to the conference, show up.
Boundaries. That's a good one. Janelle.
Yeah, so for me, it started as soon as I came out the womb. No, I'm kidding, but I'm not. So long story short, I grew up in poverty. And my family consists of, we are in poverty. So the coping thing was to do some type of substance abuse. Alcohol was the main choice, of course, until the crack epidemic hit in like the 80s, right? But by the time I was 4 years old, I had 2 tragedies. My sister was murdered and my father was murdered, right? So those experiences, and they were murdered by people they know. Y'all learn more at the conference. I'm going to break it down for y'all, okay? And those experiences was my first real experience with loss. And there was so much trauma after trauma. I'm growing up in poverty. I'm not affirmed, kind of like Shamika. I'm being told I'm stupid a lot, especially when they were sipping on the scissor. And what happened with that being told I was stupid, I didn't believe I was enough. I didn't think my brown skin was enough. I didn't think my coarse hair was enough. I didn't love myself. I didn't know myself. My esteem was completely shot by the time I was probably like a teenager. And for me, it was important as I grew up to kind of understand where that came from, because I saw that reflected in other people, right? So the journey for me was either I'm going to end up here or I'm going to end up here. And I didn't want to end up here. So I had to make some changes in my life. So I did a whole bunch of things to overcome that. And I'm gonna be real honest with you. I still have to fight against the thoughts of being stupid. I'm gonna be real with you. With all the accolades, I still have to fight against that. And now I'm on this journey to really understand who God is inside of me. That outweighs what my past is. Does that make sense? So all that stuff, everything that happened in the past, which was horrible, it doesn't outweigh who God is on the inside of me. And I think that's where the enemy tries to get us at and convince us that those things that happen to us is who we are. But honey, when I tell you, you are not what your story is, or not what you've been through, and the God on the inside raised you and called you to be wealthy, blessed, and to help other people, there's no way in the world that you can limit yourself when you know who you are in God. Sorry, I didn't mean to preach, but that's my story.
Come on now. It's all right to preach, sis.
Yeah, I love that. It's a journey. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
Sharita.
Can't hear you, sis.
I think you're on mute. Oh, there you go. Okay.
My bad. All right. Yeah. So there's been times where I question myself who I was as a person, not just overall person, but literally a mother, a woman, a professional within my career, a friend, a wife, a girlfriend, and I became lost in my negative self-talk, and became very passive in a lot of my roles. And I think this was basically due to a significant part of my failed interpersonal relationships, where I blame the failure on me. And this is something I'm like currently overcoming, and I'm on this journey now. I'm walking through my faith. I'm walking through all that right now. But I had to do a complete reality check. I had to do a fact versus fiction. What's real? What is not real? I had to define that their behaviors was not. So just being fully aware, self-aware of what I was going through, and then just also, as I talk about, having compassion for myself through this journey and not putting the blame on me.
Fact versus fiction. I love that.
Me too.
Candace.
Yes, there's so many. However, I think what shaped me, it was from my adolescent stage, age 10 to 21. There was so much that went on as relates to emotional standpoint. Having the ability, if you follow me throughout the years with my daughter and I, but mom, really about communication, not having a voice to speak, because what you see right now was the confident, the authentic, the go-getter, all of that, or the question things when you don't understand. Those things was not growing up. You couldn't ask questions growing up you stay in the kid's place, right? So the very things that was shunned in my childhood, God has used to bring me to a place. So the having language for the unresolved anger, the emotion, having a voice, right? Started with the unhealthy soul. And if you come to the conference, I'll talk a little bit more about being 14 years old, having an abortion, and what that done to me, and how that shaped me until I had my daughter at the age of 21, and what I had to grow through to be a mother with her, because even not having a voice, now having an abortion, not having a voice, and you don't know what to do, you don't talk about it, right? But it's devastating. And now you're a mother at 21. I became a mother at 21, and I wanted to change the emotional, as I call it, the Tasmanian devil, right? Moments it's going off because I had no healthy outlet. So if you come to the conference, you will understand a little bit more about the abortion, what I had to walk through, the unhealthy communication, and what I had to walk through and showing with my daughter the unresolved trauma and what it looks like to face conflict, become self-aware, self-acceptance. And so it's a lot, but those are some of the things that I will talk about in the conference. Being 14 years old and having an abortion, and you don't talk about it, but you have to move on, right, with life, and it impacts your childhood. So don't let anyone say that you have an abortion because you had to count up the cost. And those that's watching this replay, you're dealing with the residue of some things, especially having an abortion. You have to count up the cost, right? And so I'll talk more about that in the conference.
Get your tickets
Get
to come to
your
the
tickets.
conference, honey, because this is going down at the conference. If you don't
Yes.
know, you better ask somebody. Keosha.
Unaddressed childhood trauma, and how it showed up in my life, throughout my life, with the decisions that I made. One, going back to being a teenage mother as well, right? Being frowned upon because you're a teenage mom. Staying in unhealthy relationships that I knew it was not healthy for me, but holding on to it because of those things that I was yearning for, right? Looking for, but knew that they couldn't give it to me. That was totally unhealthy. And for a long time, I dealt with it until I came to the realization that, no, you do deserve more. Whether your parents gave you the more that you needed or not, you still are deserving of it. So we're gonna walk away from that stuff that's not healthy, and we're gonna leave it where it is. And that's what had to happen. Walking away from what was not healthy for me. It may have been healthy for them in their season, but it wasn't healthy for me. So walk into my newness, right? Owning who I am now, the best part of me, right? As who I am and who I am becoming, because I'm becoming more of who God intended for me to be.
Come on.
So
Amen.
speaking that word over myself, right? That I am not my trauma. That trauma is where it is and it's going to stay there. And as I move forward in my healing process, because I'm still healing. Yes, I'm on this journey. But guess what? I got me and what God has given me, and I'm moving with it. And that's that.
Yeah, walking
Yes.
away from those unhealthy things and walking into your destiny. I love it.
Yes.
And Crystal.
For me, mine was around identity. From a very young age, I learned, or what I experienced was that as a dark-skinned child, I wasn't worthy enough of love and attention. And so that played a huge part in how I saw myself. And I literally walked around with a mask for years. And it caused me to develop anxiety, depression, sadness, feeling like I would never be successful at anything. And it wasn't until I got pregnant with my daughter in 2011 where I really had to have a hard conversation with myself about how do you raise this young woman, child, baby to become a powerful woman if you don't feel that way yourself. So I had to do a lot of digging, and I had to get to the root of it. And the root of it was that it was a generational curse. This was something that had plagued my family for a long time and had created division in so many relationships, whether it was with mother and daughter, father and son. It went so far back, and it was so sad just to process all of that and to realize there was a generation before me that was suffering with not feeling like they were enough. And so I made it a priority of mine to heal from that, to expose it, to take accountability for the fact that I had become a bully of my own. I had been hurling at myself those same words, um, those same beliefs that people carried about me being this dark-skinned little girl. And I had to learn how to empower myself. I had to learn how to put myself first. I had to learn how to be honest with looking at myself in the mirror and saying that I love you. I see you. You're powerful. You will do all the things that God created you to do, that you're worthy. Um, and so that the identity thing followed me for many, many years. And just being on this panel is proof that God has great things in store for me. He has great things in store for the people listening. He has great things in store for everybody on this panel. And what happened in our past, like we've all said, it does not define us. And it really is the platform that God is going to use to elevate us and to get us into that next room. Amen.
Yes, yes, and yes. And I just wanted to point out something that Crystal said, those generational curses. Generational curses are real, and so are generational blessings. And so it's about making that turn and getting rid of whatever's in your bloodline that you don't want to move forward, and allowing those blessings to rain down in your legacy. So much great stuff has happened today. I'm going to switch gears a bit as we get towards the end of our live session. And each one of these women are going to pretty much talk about a particular topic or area. You'll see that at the conference, so get your tickets. So I am going to start out with Crystal with self-awareness. Why is it essential to healing and having a healthy soul? So each one of our speakers will speak on their particular topic. So for Crystal, it's self-awareness.
Yes. So self-awareness is essential because it helps you to develop the skills and the ability to navigate through your own emotions without being controlled by them. For me, I was controlled by my anxiety, which would not allow me to enter certain spaces where God wanted me to be so that he could use me to help build his kingdom, use me to be a vessel, use me to be an example, right? This will help people make better choices for themselves, even for people around them. A lot of being aware myself helped me make better choices for the people who I called friends, for my child, for my husband. It helps you identify your purpose. What is your purpose? God has a specific purpose in mind for each and every one of us, right? It helps you to take accountability for your choices while learning from your past. Self-awareness reminds you to take care of yourself, that you are not defined by your past, and that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that no matter the Goliaths that we face in life, that we will be victorious. So that self-awareness helps you be a warrior in knowing that no matter what comes up against me, I will be successful. Yes, I might walk away with some bruises, but in the end, I will be stronger. I will be wiser. I'll have new tools to add to my belt, and I'll be confident, and I'll love myself, and I'll have the ability to love others the way that they deserve to be loved as well.
Yes. Another word that we've heard throughout is forgiveness. So Candace, can you have a healthy soul and be in unforgiveness? Why or why not?
This question I pondered on so much, meditated on. But can you have a healthy soul and be in unforgiveness? No. And why is that? Because it robs you of your peace. I mentioned it earlier, and some of the ladies mentioned it. It robs you of your peace and you keep giving, and you're allowing the other person that done you harm and the offense to have control over you. And so, no, you cannot walk in unforgiveness. However, you can be healthy and begin the journey of forgiveness in dealing with situations on that healing. What Crystal just said, being self-aware of the trauma. So no, you cannot, if you're refusing to deal with it and to acknowledge it and embrace the pain, it will cause you to be unhealthy. But when you begin tackling and dealing with and becoming aware, self-aware, self-acceptance, embracing the pain, acknowledging you're on the journey of becoming healthy. And so I just want to encourage people. I think Crystal mentioned it earlier that the journey will not look the same for everyone, right? But just start. Once you become aware and start searching. And you're on this live or you're watching on this replay because you're ready. You're ready to go to the next level. You're ready to tap in. And so I encourage you, because this is the first step and you're on the journey of healing your unforgiveness.
So Janelle, earlier you talked about those two major losses. So overcoming grief. How does grief relate to a healthy soul? And how can grief cause someone to have an unhealthy soul?
This is good. So grief, of course, is a natural emotion. We all experience a grief. It's losing something, right? And there's different avenues to loss. It's not just someone dying that we're grieving. It's anything that is a loss, a job, a relationship, anything. The issue, though, is although grief is a natural emotion, because we're going to lose things, that's just human nature. Although it's natural, when we don't process it, this is where it really gets into our soul wounds, right? When we're not processing grief in a healthy way. So a lot of times, just with anything, unforgiveness or anything like that, when you don't process that thing, it settles into your body. There's a book out there called The Body Keeps Score, where we are like having issues with our physical body, our ailments, our stress. We're having all these autoimmune diseases, cancers, all these things that are happening because we're not healing our soul. And grief is one of those things that if it's not processed properly, will impact you and eat you up from the inside out. So that's why it's important. I see a lot of times, and I hate to say this, in the African community, when we deal with grief, it's almost like keep it moving. Oh, this happened, keep it moving. Life doesn't stop because we lose things. But when you don't process, it eats you up on the inside. This is where you see a lot of suicidal ideation, a lot of suicidal attempts, depression, anxiety, all type of mental health disorders, because we're not processing it in a healthy way. So for me, I had so many losses. I'm like boom, 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 right? Of people in my family, just so many losses, not just with my family members, but also other things. What I did with that, I just compartmentalized it and I separated the two instead of processing it. And it wasn't until recently where I had some major close losses where I was like, I'm about to just tap out. So that's what we're going to talk about in the conference, because grief is not just something we pass by. We have to process it.
Yeah, and with that being said, something that I do like that we're in this season of mindfulness and being emotionally well. I think many people have identified the traumas and things of that nature, and now they're on this healing journey and they are looking at mindfulness and being emotional well, something that they want to implement in their life. So Shamika, how does mindfulness contribute to nurturing a healthy soul?
She logged out. She may be having technical difficulties.
Okay. So I'm going to jump to Sharita. Self-love and self-talk. One of my favorite things. The significance of self-love and the impact of self-talk on cultivating a healthy soul. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So self-love is overall, it's going to be a critical component to our well-being that creates an unconditional positive regard for ourselves. It motivates our positive behaviors, and it can empower us to kind of take risks and be assertive in situations that may be unhealthy for us. Because self-love, what it does is initiate acceptance in all our flaws, our strengths, our weaknesses, and good understanding of who we are. So once you know who you are, can't nobody tell you nothing. It will have a positive effect on our well-being, mental health, even our relationships. So Self-talk, which is an internal dialogue that you have with yourself, is how you speak to yourself that can influence your self-perceptions. You have positive self-talk, and that will influence positive self-perceptions, while negative self-talk is going to be that inner critic that passes judgment. So knowing your inner dialogue is going to direct you to have a greater capacity to execute on behaviors necessary to produce specific performances, such as cultivating a healthy soul. If you have negative self-talk and you say like, oh, I can't do this, then you're not going to have the strength to move forward. You're not going to want to go on because you're believing what you're saying. But if you're like, yes, girl, I got this, you hyping yourself up, and you're going to be more motivated to do that. So that's something that we'll talk about during the conference, is how do we start achieving more positive self-talk to fully love ourselves.
Amen.
So this is another one that I think, many people have dealt with, and we're all on this journey. And so even when you are focused on healing, sometimes you still have to address things like shame and guilt. So Keosha, could you discuss the importance of overcoming these feelings from our past in order to nurture a healthy soul?
On mute, child. But shame becomes problematic when it's internalized. And shame doesn't consider your actions as bad. It considers you as bad. And this is the core reason why shame destroys. We lose self. We lose our identity. We lose our way when that settles in there internally. Acknowledging our imperfectness, our mistakes, but also as a believer, for me, I don't know about anybody else, knowing that I am forgiven and that I am a new creature in Christ, regardless of my past shames, regardless of those things that tried to cause me to lose my identity, but yet now is found. Seeking accountability for those who have their own path of way, receiving mentorship, books, reading, counseling, ministering, allowing yourself to be ministered to, so that you can dig deeper to self, to who you truly are. Overcoming feelings of shame and guilt is essential for emotional well-being, personal growth, healthier relationships, and more positive outlooks on life itself. We can't look at life at that healthy stage if we in shame. So we have to be able to acknowledge that I'm not that shame. I'm not what they said I am. And just being able to self-forgive, learning from your past mistakes, getting past those, embracing authenticity. Just getting in that space where you know that you know who you are. And as scripture says, anyone who believes in him will never be put to shame. I believe in my God. He is who I go to for my source. And I am who he says I am. I believe that I am above and not below. I believe that. I believe who he says I am. A true woman of God, seeking him. He is the author and the finisher of my faith. So I trust that what he says about me is right. He also says that all those things, he's going to use them for his good, for his glory. So what am I ashamed about? If he's going to use them for my good, who cares what the next one thinks, right? I'm walking in that. And that's where I say, listen, to God be the glory.
Yeah, and if y'all missed it, that was some of that. I think she jumped on Sharita's point with the positive self-talk, and that's what you need to do sometimes. You just got to delight yourself in the Lord and allow Him to speak through you and be your own cheerleader and remind yourself of all the things that He said He's going to do on your behalf and who He said that you are. We are just waiting for Shamika to join in. She is going to wrap up and speak a little bit about mindfulness and emotionally being well as that relates to the healthy soul. Again, thank you so much for joining this live stream. Feel free to share this with a friend. If you are still interested in the conference, you can buy a ticket. These are just little snippets of what you are going to experience at the conference. Again, these are the speakers of the conference, and we understand that this is a journey. We are on this journey together. What I really appreciate is earlier, a lot of the women spoke to what they've overcome, but they're like, I'm still on the journey. I thought I took care of this and I've been working towards this. And then I realized I'm still on the journey. And so healing is a journey because we know there are triggers. We know that the enemy is busy. We know that he will use anybody and usually people that are close to you. So we're on this journey together. We are really hoping to be that tribe that maybe other women need. We know that we need it. We're looking to make sure that we keep the right kind of people in our space. One of the speakers mentioned that earlier about, I think it was Candace, about, you know, at some point you just got to realize some of these people are not for you where you're going. And sometimes that's family, sometimes it's close friends, sometimes it's people that you feel like you can't let go of. But sometimes you just got to cut a man loose, as they say, man or woman. It looks like Shamika is coming back in. So any questions that you guys may have, if you feel free to go ahead and chat with us, and we will do our best to try to get those questions answered. Shamika, I do want to give you a chance to close out talking about mindfulness and emotional well-being. So how does that contribute to nurturing a healthy soul? We'll give her a minute.
For me, I think because of the storming that I'm having a
We
bad
can hear
connection. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but it's not the best.
You can?
Okay, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We can, and then we can't.
Free from distraction or judgment. This plays a crucial role in understanding and regulating your emotions. It allows individuals to observe their thoughts and feelings without being overwhelmed by them, fostering a sense of peace and balance. I've heard several of our sisters talk about having peace, that healthy soul being peace. It also provides a heightened awareness. Mindful is you're able to track when you're having a trigger, right? And you're able to be mindful in the moment of having that trigger. Take that moment, acknowledge it. You know, sometimes, you know, you might have certain emotions. Don't judge yourself in that moment. That maintaining and fulfilling relationships. If you're not mindful of how you are triggered,
then you can also interfere with your relationships, with your husband, your relationships with your children, your relationships with your friends, and people in general. So mindfulness and emotional well-being create a foundation for a healthy soul. It's about being aware and responsive to your needs, but also being capable of being aware of other people's feelings, emotions at the same time, and thriving and in harmony with your surroundings. It's all about being a mindfulness helps create that holistic health, that inner peace and wholeness, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys are getting everything, because I feel like I'm choppy. Did y'all hear me?
For the most part. But that's why you have to buy a ticket to the conference.
Because it seems like I'm choppy.
Shamika, you can go ahead and wrap us up and take us out. Any closing remarks from the speakers before we close out? It looks like, see, this is the thing about technology. Sometimes it just doesn't want to be your friend, but that's okay. You keep right on moving. You work with what you can get. And then we move on to the next time that we'll live stream. So there will be more information about when we will be streaming live again. Make sure you are following our Woman Heal Thy Soul Facebook page. If you were a part of this live stream today, thank you so much for your time and your attention, and for being willing to support what it is that God has placed into Shamika and the other ladies that will be a part of this conference. Tickets are still available. Make sure you share this with someone that you really feels like needs to hear it or is on that journey as well. We want to thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next live stream. Thank you, everyone. Does anybody want to provide anything in closing? Janelle?
Yes. So make sure you visit the link at www.womanhealthysoul.com in order for you to purchase your tickets and do them quickly. We have VIP and regular tickets available for you.
Shamika, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm
Anything
sorry,
you want to
guys.
mention before we close out?
No. Thank you guys for joining. I don't know if you already told them, register for Woman Heal Thy Soul Conference. We have been praying for you guys. Show up. Let us help you start that journey of healing. As a matter of fact, we want you to start before you open the doors, but we're going to give you some tools. We're going to empower you to start that journey of wholeness. Healing is part of wholeness. So in order to be whole, you got to be healed, but there's some other things. We're going to give you the tools. We're going to equip you with those tools when you come into Woman Heal Thy Soul Conference. We're expecting you. We're preparing for you. And also join the Woman Heal Thy Soul group, Facebook group. So you can already start getting into the community and getting information. We're going to start having more lives broadcast on our group and providing information leading up to the conference. As I said, this would be your community to continue that journey even past the Woman Heal Thy Soul Conference.
So join us. Get registered. The link is in the comments. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time. I apologize for my technical difficulties, and y'all have a blessed Saturday.